What's going on, everybody, and welcome to the other side of the Firewall podcast, where we talk about the latest and greatest of cybersecurity news, as well as we highlight those movers and shakers and glass ceiling breakers, those people of color who made it to the other side of the proverbial firewall. My name is Ryan Williams, and as always, I'm joined by Shannon Tynes.
What's up? What's up?
What's going on? So, welcome to Wednesday's episode. So, definitely go back if you have not heard already. So, Monday, we talk about a critical Apple vulnerability you need to patch out immediately if you have not already. Tuesday, we discuss Apple dipping their toe a little bit more into security, or a lot more, depending on your perspective. So definitely tune in for that one as well. I promise it's not Apple Podcasts. We just so happen to go back to back this week, and then today we'll have a topic of discussion. Thursdays will either be Ask a CSP or a throwback episode because we have so much content I'd like to reshare if possible. The highlight some of our nuggets of wisdom out there. And then Fridays, everything else: movies, books, games, TV shows, all that good stuff. Without further ado, I give it to Shannon.
All right, everybody. So this article is actually from Wired.com, written by Andy Greenberg. And the title is The International Criminal Court Will Now Prosecute Cyberwar Crimes. So what they have on here as kind of a subheadline is, and the first case on the docket may well be Russia's cyber attacks against civilian critical infrastructure in Ukraine. So this is kind of what they're talking about when they talk about cyber war crimes, right? Is you going in there and attacking utilities and things of that nature that deal with the public, right? So that's kind of what they're going in, and they're kind of using like the Geneva Convention to kind of address this, right? So it's kind of a cool way of going about to address this, which I'm sure you're going to agree with this. Like, this is long overdue, right? Like, this is one of those things where it might hold a little bit more weight, but what it could end up doing is it could make some of these other countries like Russia, right? They don't come out and mention Russia specifically when they talk about this, but this could be one of those things where it just pushes Russia even farther away to where they're like, you know what? Now we really don't care, right? Fire the missiles. You know what I mean? Actually, that's more French, isn't it? Fire the missiles. That's not French. That's not what I meant to go for there. It's supposed to be more Russian. In Russia, missiles fire you.
Right.
But no. So this is what they're trying to do. What they say here is cyber warfare is something that needs to be more seriously addressed, right? So attempts to impact critical infrastructure like medical facilities, which things we've talked about here, your utilities like your gas pipelines, things of that nature, right? Electrical, even though it's going to be harder, right? Like in this day and age, this is one of those things where it's like, if you try to go after like nuclear or something like that, like this is the types of things they're kind of do. Now, if you try to go after nuclear, that's more than likely an act of war, and like they're kind of out of the game at that point. But they realize the importance of cyberspace and what's going on there and how people are going about doing things, right? So like when it comes to Russia, again, they don't mention Russia and Ukraine specifically, but when it comes to that, like one of the first things Russia did before they did this invasion last year was they went in there and started messing with the infrastructure, right? Before they rolled a single tank up in there. That's what they did. So the importance of that is knowing that you have it's a bunch of countries out here, right, that support international crimes and things like that for the Hague. This is the Hague, right? Is where they do all of these out of, right? I believe it's the Hague, Hague. Yeah. So because you have so many countries that support this, right? This is one of those things where like it's kind of like NATO, right? You mess with one, you mess with all type thing. So my hope is that this is a deterrent to some of these countries that are going out and doing some of these things, like Russia to Ukraine. You got China over there messing around in the Pacific, with different countries and saying, hey, you belong to us. That's the hope. And the hope is not that you push them farther away and alienate them more, but you kind of bring them back into being more civilized in what they're doing, right? Because cyber warfare is where it's at, right? We've said it on this show numerous times. Like before a single tank rolls, missile fires, bullet fires, you're going into these countries through cyber warfare. You know what I mean? So, Ryan, what's your thoughts on this?
Yeah, no, I agree that I believe it's a good initiative, and I think it's long overdue. Its implementation, however, a little worried about because I agree with them saying that, hey, cyber is the new frontier. You can have humongous impact on communities of people who are disadvantaged, as well as just citizenships of other countries. And as you can see, like I think it's the first two attributed blackouts through cyber warfare hit Ukraine, right? Like pre pre-invasion type scenarios. So like those are things that are markers of incursion, right? Like we're gonna hit your cyber first, we're gonna knock out your communications, your banking, we're gonna spread disinformation, and then we're gonna roll tanks in. And that's with uh two well-developed countries, right? So what about those who are able to attack or be aggressive, who are just factions, or they're just uh, uh, people who are hacktivists or siding with a particular country? Like, what do you do with these one-offs, these smaller variations of potential war crimes, right? Um, so I think it's a good idea. What I think is going to happen though is it's going to have an effect for those who thought they were doing right. They sided with the wrong side of history, per se. Not to say that I feel as not to say that I'm empathetic, so to speak, but I think people will find out that they were on the wrong side of the law, and that this will cause bigger blunders and issues in the near future, right? Because there's a lot of people who hacked on Ukraine's side. Um, against Russia and vice versa in this incursion. So, who determines who's on the right side of warfare, right? I assume to be this international court, but that doesn't mean that they're going to agree with you specifically as, would-be hacktivists. So there are going to be a lot of people locked up or potentially locked up because of this, not only because of this current war between these two factions, but all future wars to come, right? Like people were like, oh, well, I was on the US side of this and yada yada yada, and I attacked whomever happened to be the world power that we were fighting or what have you. Hopefully it does not happen, right? But if that war to break out in the future and people decide to side with a country, but they're not combatants, so to speak, right? That gets really weird, right? The lines are very gray. So I think it's going to be a lot of issues because of this. So I'm all for it. Like I think that cyber warfare is just as impactful as conventional warfare. However, I think it should put people it should give people pause before they jump into the fight, right? Like these countries did not ask for your help. These countries did not um, inscribe you to service, so you need to stay out of the fight, basically, because you could wind up in international prison for the rest of your life. So yeah, play stupid games, get stupid prizes, right? So I think that that's going to be something that comes up in the future. So I'm for it, but I'm just hesitant because there's going to be a lot of people who are going to make mistakes and wind up in very serious hot water.
And you bring up a very good point, right? Because even in the article, they mentioned how they will go after, going up as high as the president of a country. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like for these different war crimes and whatnot. Like in the article, they mentioned Putin, right? Just to reference the whole Russia Ukraine thing. But um, if they have no problem going after presidents of established, countries, like they have no problem going after Joe Schmo in the basement. That was like,
Right, right. Yeah. That's definitely going to happen, right? People are going to be extradited from their countries to potentially go to trial, which international court I'm sure is not uh it's not as easy as you would think. Like, I'm gonna go there and defend myself. Like, and like, who's to say you get a free defense? Who's to say that you like there in some countries you wind up in a cage in the jail, right? Like you've seen that where you're presumed guilty until you're proven innocent, right? Like court systems around the world are a lot different than our own. So if you're a would be hacker, like you said, Joe Schmo in his basement, you're like, you know what? I want to join this fight. You can wind up like being somewhere else for the next 20 to 30 years of your life. Because you caused a blackout or you indirectly caused a hospital to lose power, right? Somebody died. Like there's severe ramifications for would-be hackers in the future, um, because you could easily cause a fatality just by messing with traffic lights. So like. you're going to be up a creek potentially in the near future. So it's best for you to a not be involved in these incursions and things of that nature, but b you have to just choose wisely if you were to put yourself in that situation. And I don't think there is a wise choice because you never know. Like it's international court, right? You don't know who history is going to side with in these battles and incursions, right? Like you could be root like it could be the good guys from your perspective, and it could be the bad guys from the court's perspective. So we'll see what the future holds. But I just thought it was interesting. Like finally, it's being taken serious enough to go to international court. But there's been a lot of weirdness with the current invasion of Ukraine. There's a lot of people out there giving their services to Ukraine or to Russia who have nothing to do with either one of those countries per se, but they want to, they want to root for their home team or whomever. You can be in serious trouble due to that. So we'll see what the future holds. Like I can see a year from now, we talk about so and so, you know, despondent who decided to hack from the States and now he's being extradited to Geneva to stand trial now that the war is over, right? So I don't know. It's a interesting mental gymnastic type experiment, but I think it's going to come to fruition in the near future. Like this invasion can't last forever. So once the dust settles, that there'll be trials and tribulations and people uh, sent elsewhere to be sentenced for their crimes. So I wouldn't be surprised if you start to see people from countries that like America, Canada, like you know what I mean, like places that had nothing to do with this war, start to be lined up and have to answer for their actions within the war.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we'll see more to come. Like it's all speculation for now, but I thought that was very interesting that they're like because it's very low key. They're like, yeah, we already have laws that exist for this. Like we don't have to reinvent anything. We can
That
just
is that
plug
is
this in.
that is true, and they did mention that in the article. Like, no, we're not coming up with something to reinvent the wheel. We're just enforcing this what we already have on the books, right? So
Right.
that's a very good point on that. So it's not like they have to go out and write this long missive, write these long procedures, not necessarily procedures, but justification, I guess you could say.
Yep.
That no, no, no. These are war crimes. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, we
Right.
that's in our wheelhouse. We do that all day. You know.
Yeah. And these people don't necessarily like A, they're not part of a military, but B, they might not even do the research. They were like, you know what? I just want to there's chaos and I want to help or I want to hinder or I want to do whatever. Um, so like you think of, the GRU and Russia and how they're already part of a military, part of a nation state, but then you have all these randos out there who want to fight the good fight as well. You never been in uniform, you don't understand the rules of engagement, and they're ever changing, right? And then you have a significant impact. Like one man took down all of North Korea, right? Like like you have people out there right now who've made significant impacts on either side of the war, and then it'll be attributed to them, and then they will be locked up forever. So it's crazy to think about. But we'll see what the future holds. But definitely continue to tune in throughout the week. So Monday, Tuesday are topics, Wednesday discussion, Thursdays will either be Ask CSP or Throwback. But I want to keep that Thursday slot going. And then Friday is everything else: movies, books, games, TV shows, all that good stuff. So definitely check us out for Friday as well for your non-cyber security stuff. So stay safe, stay secure.